Video number 104, the tools list. Okay, I'm just going to try to run through some things that I used. Okay, you got your magic marker, permanent marker, you got these little brushes, art brushes or whatever you want to call them. They come in like a 6-pack. You can get them at any store. You know, you don't have to pay a fortune for that kind of stuff. These are some jewelers and eyeglass type of screwdrivers. These Stanley picks, they're really handy. Quite good, as a matter of fact. And okay, so these gloves, those plastic gloves, you can get them anywhere. I hate the W word, but yes, you can get them at Walmart for extremely cheap. I would, if you're gonna do anything like this, I would recommend at least one small toolbox and a work light and one of these magnifying things with a light on it. Okay, so then I used epoxy. That's 2-part epoxy. You got to mix it to make it work. This color tone lemon oil, that I did like. These are just vitamin bottles that the wife and I have used over the years. I've kept them, and this one's got rosewood fretboard dust in it. This one's got real bone dust in it. This, let's see, I suppose I buried it. Yeah, okay. Okay, these are my wife's old makeup brushes. Believe it or not, they're really good for this. These, I'm sure most of you recognize, this comes from fast food restaurants, and they're really good for mixing glue. Super glue, I had to use that, unfortunately. Here's the extra fret wire that I didn't need. Okay, this is a spark plug wire puller. It's automotive, and I used it as a knob puller. It's got these little teeth on the bottom of it. I'm pretty sure you can't see them there. You might be able to see it there. So on the inside, I ground it down a little bit to get under the knobs on the guitar, and that works. Feeler gauges, you can get these. I recommend Craftsman Sears. You can get 4 times the number of feelers for the same for much less than StewMac. This is a nut spacing rule, and I liked that quite well. It worked very well. And these are my nut files that I will be adding on to later. I will be adding more to them. I used an X-Acto knife set, and I used files from Sears, and these are also from Sears. This Dremel, it's a Dremel 4000, and it's much cheaper somewhere else other than StewMac. And okay, here's the conductive paint from StewMac. I liked it pretty well. You got to make sure and ventilate. Soldering iron, and get silver solder. Get get the silver solder. And then, okay, the fret hammer, and this is the fret slot depth finder. That works well. This is something else I picked up from Sears. It's got a magnet. It'll hold the screws, whatever you're working on. As long as it's metallic, it'll hold it for you. That comes in really handy. Here's the fret slot depth saw that I bought, and I recommend buying the smaller one than they recommend. Trust me on that. Okay, this is this is just part of a plier set that I was given, and I used my grinder here to turn it into a fret puller. This is heavy electrical wire. I've got a couple of them here. I use them to put them behind the neck and hold the strings away from the fretboard. This is I bought this at a hardware store for about $20 cheaper than Stu Mac. This is alignment pliers. Buy them at any hardware store. And I used my hacksaw to cut a groove in it, and now it's a fret bending plier. Okay, so then I used double-sided tape to put sandpaper on my combination square. I also used the rest of the combination square to I used it on the guitar neck. I used a couple of these to hold down the fret wire because like I said, I bought that fret saw instead of a smaller one, so I had to use super glue on the frets, and I used a couple of these to hold down the fret wire for a few seconds. And I used a cordless drill, and this may look silly, but you really need to get yourself an egg carton and mark it EADGBE. Trust me, that helps a lot. And then digital caliper, you can get those at the hardware store for much cheaper than Stu Mac. Hex key, I used a 1.5 millimeter on the bridge, but you know, that may change. That may be different size for you. I've got Stu Mac's understring radius gauges. I put them on a key ring. That helps quite a bit. And some of these sizes, you know, that you can use a lot. Like I use the 10 and the 12 quite a lot. Make sure you got a couple different lengths of screwdrivers. Screws on guitars are typically Phillips head. Okay, so then some various sizes of or strength, or whatever you want to call them, on sandpaper. And then after all that, you get your chromatic tuner, and this winder. I would recommend getting one with a higher or a taller piece here, because you know, if you watched any of these videos, you can tell that it wobbles around a lot, and it's hard to use. It's still easier than doing it all by hand, but it's a little difficult. And that's about it. First Act rebuild. Compare brown-eyed squirrel. My first sound test, real sound test of this rebuild. It's gonna sound like Brown-Eyed Girl, but it's not.
One, two, three, four.